This episode is brought to you by... Oops, I've got a box of Cheez-It crackers staring at me and I just wanted that irresistible cheesy crunch. Sorry, that was a total snacksident. What was I supposed to be talking about? So salty, so crunchy, so cheesy. Whoops, lost my train of thought. I've heard of brain freeze, but brain cheese? I'll just have one more Cheez-It cracker and then I'll get back to it.
British Spy Stories. Hi, this is MF Kelleher. This is the double episode finale to Season 5. Stay tuned at the end of the episode for a preview of Season 6, Counter-Strike, starting next Monday on British Spy Stories. Season 5, Kill or Be Killed. The finale. Episode 31. There's half a second between Hans looking at the flames rushing in from the tunnel outside and the first oil tank rupturing. The blast knocks him off his feet and his ears ring with the explosion. He can feel brickwork collapsing around him and the masonry hitting his battered body. Dust from the collapse crawls down his throat, and he can feel himself choking. Hans uses all his energy to get to his knees and look for Laravel. She's there, still lying where he found her, still not moving, now under the rubble. The doorway to the tunnel has gone, filled with fallen debris. But there's also a large crack in the brickwork, on the side wall, where the masonry has started to give way in the blast. He needs to break through there to get them out. The brick dust clings to his skin as he starts to pull the rubble off Laravel's body. He checks for a pulse, and it's there, but weak. Hans turns to remove the bricks piled up near the wall fracture until his fingers bleed. He clears a 2-foot gap, then kicks out, aiming at the crack in the masonry. Each impact sends a vibrating pain into his body. But he continues as his life and Laravel's depend on it. Suddenly the bricks cave in and he can see the tunnel beyond. He kicks more until there's a big enough hole, then returns to Laravel. In the house, Rose can hear a voice in her head, but thinks she must be dreaming. Madame! Madame! She feels someone shaking her body and opens her eyes. Stephen, help me up. The bodyguard puts his hands around her and pulls Rose onto a chair. What happened, madame? Clive Fremont is a traitor to our cause, Stephen. I want you to find him and kill him. Is he still in the house? I don't know where he is. Are you armed? 2 Glocks, madame. Give me one, she says. Can you see Clive on the screens anywhere? Stephen scans the video feeds in the security room. I can't see him. Then we'll hunt him down, like the animal he is. Come on. Rose walks out of the room and Stephen follows her. In the basement, at the doors to the sealed server room, Gabby and Captain Thornton see Major Rogers and 2 SAS blades arriving with explosives and cutting equipment for the final phase of the operation. Barrett, Jones, PE4 on the doors, orders the captain. And the soldiers apply plastic explosive around the entrance to the IT room. They all take cover, and Thornton detonates the charge. The room is full of noise as the blast cracks out, and they move back to see the effect, but the doors have only buckled. Not enough. We'll move to the thermal lance, says Thornton. One of the men sets up the equipment and starts to cut the steel frame. As the lance starts to destroy the steel, the sound of running boots comes up from the second tunnel. A group of mercenaries appears in the main room, and they start to fire out of the blackness. The SAS blades immediately form into a defensive position around the man with the thermal lance. Can't see them, sir. We're blind, calls one of Alpha Troop. I'll lead an attack, Captain, and keep them contained, says Gabby. Flash bomb, Morris, says Thornton, and a blade launches a flash bomb across the void. As the white light scorches out in the cellar, Gabby and 3 SAS blades run and fire, while the incendiary gives them eyes in the darkness. 2 mercenaries go down, and the rest escape up the curved staircase to the house. "We pursue them," calls Gabby, and the SAS soldiers hurry up the stairs with her. In the side room down the tunnel, Hans kneels beside Laravel. He gets his arms under her legs and torso, carries her over to the hole in the wall, and feeds her out into the corridor. His stomach wound is still pushing pain into his body each time he moves. But he ignores it. He lifts up Laravel again and turns towards the tunnel entrance to reach fresh air. The fire has passed its peak now in this section of the tunnel, and the wooden ceiling panels are a black mess. Hans slowly moves around the residual flames in the tunnel as he makes his way towards freedom. He can see the entrance ahead. More than once he loses footing and nearly drops Laravel, but eventually he pushes the broken doors and carries her limp body out into the daylight. He lays her on the grass at the edge of the woodland and checks her pulse again. He can't find a rhythm, and his mind squirms. He moves his fingers over her skin. "Come on, Jenny, for God's sake." There's no rhythm. "Please," he says quietly. Then he feels the weak movement of her heartbeat against his fingertips. Gabby opens the door at the top of the curved staircase, and the 4 SAS men run out into the hallway with her. She turns her head, and her eyes lock onto the face of Rose Froissart, who is in the lounge. "Harbour outside," she says to her men, using the order for them to gather on the driveway and wait for her command. Gabby walks into the lounge. "Lady Harwood, is this all of your doing?" "It is." "I assume you're not actually a member of the minor English gentrified class." "MI6, Rose," she says flatly. "And Clive, too?" Gabby doesn't answer. "A pity. I liked him." "I'll tell him." "The death of Raphael, was that you as well?" "You were a threat. We had to do something," says Gabby. "Louis was a weak link, and Salvatore was an amateur when it came to international espionage." "All of that was you?" "Not Oliver Bailey, though." "Why did you kill him? Was he going to damage you?" "He thought he could do it all on his own," says Rose. "Then your MI5 tried to trap him, but I found out." "The British government would be happy to do a deal with you, Rose. A reduced sentence if you share everything you know. All your people, your paid sources inside governments and private companies. Then you can enjoy your inheritance when you get out." "I'm not going to prison, Imogen." Rose turns her eyes to her bodyguard, Stephen, who is behind the door. He runs at Gabby and gets an arm around her throat. She twists and headbutts him, and he recoils, but only for a moment. He swings a punch at her, but Gabby kicks out hard to his upper leg, and he falls. She jumps on him and hits him in the face. Stephen throws her off, and she rolls across the lounge carpet. They both stand, and she runs for him, aiming punches to his stomach from below. One lands squarely in his diaphragm, and he's winded. Gabby brings her knee up to his nose as he bends, and blood spews out on impact. Stephen gets hold of her arm and pulls it around behind her. He is strong, and she is caught off balance, crashing to the floor and smashing her comms headset on the ground. As she stands, she can hear the damaged earpiece fizzing in her ear. There's a tall standard lamp nearby on a long lead. She grabs the light, hitting Stephen with it. The shade and the bulb shatter. With his attention diverted for a moment, Gabby runs and jumps with both feet out in front of her. She lands dead center of his torso. The impact drives him back to the sofa, and he crashes into the seats. Gabby's flight continues, and she lands on him. She grabs one of his arms, brings it back, and a loud crack echoes from his skeleton. She turns and rams her foot down on his leg, and another crack rolls across the air. She stands up. Stephen holds his broken arm, and his face scrunches up with the roaring pain. Gabby turns back to Rose, but the woman has gone. As Hans sits with Laravel near the tunnel entrance, SFSG troops run past, on their way to reseal the boundary of the battlefield where there's been a breach. One is a medic. He has a rehydration IV field drip and dextrose, which he administers to Laravel. "We can get a stretcher for her, mate. But what about you?" he says to Hans. "Is that a stomach wound you got there?" "I'm fine, just help her." The man runs off to attend to an injured SAS man in the gardens, and he calls back to Hans. "I'll radio stretcher party." Hans moves to lean against the tree trunk. He rests the IV bottle in a branch and pulls Laravel gently across his legs to support her unconscious head. 2 men with a stretcher arrive 10 minutes later, and they carry her off to the tent village in the woods for attention and observation. It's gnawing away inside Hans's head that he needs to do more to contain Rose during this attack. He makes his way back to the house to find her. Hans skirts the grounds via the long route to avoid the battles that are continuing, and he slips in through the staff entrance of the chateau. He runs up the back stairs until he reaches the security room and puts his head around the door, but Rose is not there on the floor where he left her. Hans needs to find her and drops down into the hallway again. There's someone in the lounge lying on the sofa. It's Stephen, the bodyguard. His eyes are closed. "Stephen." The man opens his eyes, and they expose the pain that pervades his body. "Have you seen Madame, Stephen?" says Hans. "She told me to kill you, sir. If I could move, I would." "Where is she?" Hans sees a Glock on the floor, picks it up and holds it to the man's temple. Stephen squints his eyes as a raft of pain rolls through his flesh. "I don't want to kill you, Stephen. There's a back staircase down into the tunnels. She went that way." "Where?" He pushes the muzzle into the man's cheek. "By the staff entrance. There's a door. It takes you down a staircase." Hans runs out and heads back to the staff entrance. Near the woodland, Beta troop push the mercenaries back until they reach the clearing where the jeeps are parked. As they arrive, the sound of an engine spools out from the trees, and a jeep accelerates away with 3 mercenaries on board. Kate doesn't wait for any orders, but runs to one of the other vehicles and gives chase. The leading jeep pushes out beyond the trees and down to the lower grounds. Here there are no formal gardens, but wilder managed grassland and long gravel paths down to the river. Kate thrusts the accelerator to the floor as the cars bump onto a dead straight path. She's closing the gap and gets to 40 feet behind them before the mercenaries decide that she's too close. Bullets ricochet off her bonnet, but she plows on. She's exposed this near to them, and there's no cover to use. So Kate pulls out her handgun and fires rounds with her damaged right hand. The pain makes her stop firing, and the leading jeep pulls away again. The vehicles are closing in on the river. There's no way to cross the water here, and Kate can see that the mercenaries will have to turn along the bank to reach an old wooden bridge, half a mile west. The 2 green jeeps speed dangerously close to the water as they navigate the bumps on the bankside. Kate narrows the gap. The men in front open fire with another 3 bursts of bullets. They hit her wing mirrors and shatter her windscreen. She's considering how to manage the chase once they reach the bridge, when the jeep in front loses traction on soft ground. It drops down into a feeding stream and makes a jarring swerve sideways as the driver loses control. Kate is out of her vehicle before the men. She has her automatic weapon across her back and her Glock in her hand. She fires, and one man is hit in the stomach, falling sideways out of the jeep. She keeps coming, unafraid of what she needs to do. Her Glock magazine is nearly empty. She pushes the handgun into her waist belt and swings the MP5 around. Her first shots are wide, but her second burst catches one of the two remaining mercenaries. The last man jumps into the water and swims for it. She reaches the bank. He is underwater to protect himself. Kate pulls out her handgun. She has only one bullet left. There's half a minute of silence as he holds his breath. Then he surfaces. She fires her final shot. His head splits, and his body floats off downstream with the water. The spiral staircase that leads from the staff entrance to the second tunnel is narrow and dark. Hans' energy is dwindling after Rose stabbed him, and the pain has racked his flesh ever since. At the bottom of the stairs is a narrow door, and he pushes it open. He steps out and he can see that he's halfway along the second tunnel. There's no smoke or fire here, and he looks in both directions, but there's no sign of Rose. He stands for a moment in the silence.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Then he hears a gun being cocked behind his head.
Imogen tells me you're a spy, Clive.
He turns to Rose. She has her Glock pointing towards him.
I thought I loved you. Do you know that?
She says.
I'm sorry, Rose. Are you, really? It turns out it was all make-believe. In the beginning I was tempted by your life of luxury. Tempted maybe, but you wouldn't have done anything. You're too obedient, too dull. You know one of the first things they taught us at spy school?
He says. She smiles and mildly shakes her head.
There are only two reasons why people attack you. Either you have something that they want, or they fight you and lose. I haven't lost,
she says.
This isn't any sort of ending. This project of yours down here in the basement. In a few minutes it's all going to blow. That's why we're all here. The work is done, Clive. I can still trigger it remotely, using a text message from my phone. Like a giant bomb. Isn't technology clever?
Hans lunges for her. She fires but misses. He grabs for the gun. It slips from her fingers and clatters away. Before he knows it, she gets a hand to his wound and pulls the skin. He cries out and falls onto the hard brick floor. Rose runs. Hans grunts with agony. His fingers reach for the gun. He aims and fires, but the door at the tunnel entrance slams shut, and Rose Froissart disappears into the sunlight. Inside the server room, Thornton's men climb through the yawning gap cut by the thermal lance, and they reach the main servers. The final step of the operation is to place charges on the racks and blow the machines. The men work quickly and wire the explosives into a remote detonator that will allow them to get out of the place before the explosion. "Evacuate," calls Thornton over comms when they have all finished, and his men run down the first tunnel and away from the blast zone. In the gardens, Captain Carlyle has grouped all of his SAS troops at ground level into a single attack force as they close in on the remaining guards. One mercenary darts out from cover and runs back into the house. Gabby tells Carlyle that she'll go after him. In her ear, the broken comms still crackle. She arrives inside the hallway and she can see the man turn into the basement doorway. And she follows. The main room is empty. Gabby draws her handgun and steps softly into the darkness to find the mercenary. Major Rogers leads Thornton and Alpha Troop out of the tunnel mouth. He pulls down his headset microphone. "This is Control to all. We're detonating in 5 seconds. Gabby steps along in the half-darkness underground, listening for the footsteps of the man ahead of her. 4. In the woods, Rose stops in a clearing and pulls out her phone. She goes into the texting application and presses in the number and the launch code. 3. Gabby sees the mercenary in the shadows. He's running back towards the IT room and she gives chase. 2. Hans finally reaches the top of the spiral staircase and falls onto the carpet by the staff entrance. 1. Rose's finger moves towards her phone to send the text. Detonate. Episode 32. As Kate runs up from the river towards the house, she hears the subterranean blast of the servers being destroyed. She takes the staff entrance to get back into the chateau, and there is Hans on the ground. She drops to his side. "Gordon!" She rolls him over and slaps his cheek, which wakes him up. "What happened?" "Rose escaped." "Let me look at this stomach injury." She inspects the wound. "Significant blood loss, but it's only skin damage. The blade didn't hit any organs," she says, then adds, "I'll give you morphine. I always carry a dose with me when I'm working." Hans looks quizzical. "It's a precaution, you know. No one likes pain." Kate pulls out a metal box from her back pocket and rests it on his chest. She flips it open. Inside is a morphine bottle and a hypodermic syringe. She fills the syringe and injects him. The two of them sit on the floor in silence for 5 minutes as the painkiller runs through his veins. Then in their earpieces they hear Major Rogers' voice. "Control to Big Dog." Then he repeats, "Control to Big Dog." Hans and Kate lock their gaze. "When was the last time you saw her?" she says to Hans. "Ages ago." He pushes his mouth down at the corners. "Control, this is Coniston. What was the last sighting of Big Dog?" Captain Carlyle comes on. "Vicinity of the house, chasing one in." "Before the detonation?" "Confirmed." Kate mutes her microphone. "Fuck. We need to find her, Gordon. How's your morphine?" "Yeah, working." "Has she got her MI6 tracker switched on?" says Kate. "Knowing her, probably not. She's never liked them." "Let's try something." Kate pulls out her phone and dials a number. "London Control?" says Marlin, who is on duty at the operations centre for MI6. "Marlin, it's Coniston. We've lost track of Agent Blackhawk. Have you got any detectors on her?" 2 seconds. The sound of a keyboard clacking comes down the line. "Negative, Coniston. She's turned them all off. I could do a CCTV scan." "Great, go ahead. Just scan within 100 meters of my current location and in the last hour." Kate and Hans sit in the staff doorway of the chateau as Agent Marlin runs the facial recognition scans of any cameras that MI6 have legally or illegally gained access to in the vicinity. "I'll send the results to your phone," says Marlin. Then she signs off and Kate's phone hums with received messages. She and Hans explore what's been found. There are timestamps and images of Gabby coming out of the basement door in the house from the internal cameras and photos of her in various places across the gardens as she fought in the battle to rout the mercenaries.
Look there,
says Hans, pointing at an image of Gabby running back into the house.
There's only one more image in the results. Gabby disappearing into the basement door.
She could be down there, says Kate, her eyes wide.
There's a staircase through this door that leads to the second tunnel.
Come on then. They both look trepidatious as they stand up. The two spies curve down around the staircase and emerge into the tunnel below. It's pitch black down here. Kate has her MP5 with her, and Hans has his torch. They both turn on the lights as they start to walk towards the main underground room. The air is thick, with a rolling mass of dust, churned up from the explosion. The light beams reveal details before them, and they can see the remains of the servers at the far side of the space, which are now mangled and dark. There's nothing left of the offices. Desks and computer screens are scattered like confetti across the floor. Lighting units swing from the ceiling, half hanging off in the shadows. The bodies of mercenaries lay where they fell, some whole and some now disfigured from the blast. The residual smell of smoke reeks from the burnt wood, still pungent in their nostrils. We'd better check the bodies, says Kate, and the two of them proceed with the morbid ritual of looking at each corpse to see if Gabby is amongst them. The minutes tick by. The job of checking the dead in the darkness is slower than they thought. After 10 minutes, Kate is feeling despondent. She moves to look at another dead face, when Hans' voice flows out from the far corner of the room.
She's here!
Kate runs, stumbling across the uneven floor. Hans is kneeling next to a body, and Kate goes to the other side and kneels too. Gabby isn't moving. Her face is thick with dust from the explosion. Kate wipes some of it away. Gab, whispers Hans. Kate feels for a pulse. There's a second that feels much longer, as Hans looks at Kate's eyes. She's alive. They both find themselves smiling.
I'll try something I used in Iraq.
And he presses his fingers onto one of Gabby's nail beds. There's the sound of exhaling. Ouch! She opens her eyes. How did you get caught in the blast? Says Kate. My comms died.
Any injuries?
Gabby's brain tracks across her limbs and torso to find any feelings of damage. I can't feel any.
Let's get you out of here,
says Hans. They lift Gabby off the floor, and Hans carries her across the broken remains of the basement offices to the curved staircase. 2 hours later, Major Rogers walks in from the hallway to where Gabby is sitting in an armchair by the windows of the lounge in the chateau.
Mom, we need to do a report on your broken comms.
Do I get to sign that off?
Yes, Mum.
Then I suggest you don't mention it, Major, if you want the report signed.
Understood, Mum.
Give me your verbal report on the whole operation. Sit down. Rogers sits on the sofa near her. The seating still stained, with blood from the fight that she had with Stephen the bodyguard in this room.
The servers have been destroyed, says Rogers. Your GCHQ people traced a mobile signal down in the gardens and blocked it less than half a second before the detonation.
How many lost and injured?
2 of ours are injured, plus your girl Laravel. We've created a temporary medic room in one of the bedrooms in the house. On the other side we have 11 combatant prisoners, and the lads have bagged 14 of the fallen.
Did you capture Rosalind Froissart, Major?
She escaped, Ma'am, in the thick of the battle.
It wasn't your objective, so your operational goals have been achieved.
Thank you, Mum.
He stands and salutes her before walking out. Kate has been waiting for Rogers to leave, and now she appears in the doorway to the lounge.
I've just been up to see Jenny. She's made of hard stuff. They're rehydrating her, but she refuses to stay in bed.
They hear the sound of a helicopter rolling in on the air from the open doors to the terrace. Kate goes to the window.
That's RAF, not SAS,
she says, and they go out to watch as a Puma HC-2 lands on the lawns of the chateau. 2 airmen jump out and reach up to help Sir Bernard Mackintosh step onto the grass. He starts to walk across to the chateau, and Gabby walks out to meet him.
Hello, sir.
Gabrielle, I was just talking to the NATO Joint Defence Ministers on my way here. Your success is a feather in our cap.
They start to walk slowly back to the terrace.
It's hard to comprehend what would have happened if Rose Frossard had broken into the seagrass array. All Western defences would have been compromised.
They walk off the grass and onto the paving. Kate is waiting outside the French windows to the lounge.
I was just saying, Catherine, this operation has prevented untold damage to our defences and security.
Hans appears through the doors, pushing Laravel in an old Victorian wheelchair.
I read the medical report on you, Jennifer,
says Sir Bernard to Laravel.
I'm putting you on a month's paid leave to recuperate. There's a safe house near Cannes that has been allocated to you to rest. I'm sure your colleagues here will be happy to transport you, and maybe spend a few days there with you, to help you get your strength back.
Thank you, Sir Bernard.
Rose Frossard escaped, he says to them all. We have resources on her tail, but she's momentarily untraceable.
She may attempt to reconvene a new criminal group, sir, says Gabby. She is still a danger to our interests.
He nods sagely and says,
There's also a loose end in London that we're clearing up. The Oliver Bailey sting operation was leaked by someone in Five, and not someone who we knew about. Connie Barrett is doing a root and branch clean to wheedle them out. Also, he continues, I spoke to the PM an hour ago. She was mentioning talk of a medal for you, Gabrielle, in recognition of this operation.
I don't want a medal, sir. With respect. That's not why I do this.
Can we recognize you in some other way? Is there something else you'd value?
Gabby pauses.
Let me keep the Aston, sir.
It's yours.
He smiles.
Have a couple of days off. Drive your new car to Berlin. Then report back to me in London on Monday next week. We have an operation that is just bubbling up, and I'll need your help.
Of course, sir.
He waves to them all as he makes his way back across the grass to the waiting helicopter, which rises into the sky and peels off to the west until the engine noise is lost in the wind.
I've got a surprise,
says Hans. He walks inside and returns with 2 bottles and 4 glasses.
I managed to recover this Bollinger 96 from the cellar.
He looks at Laravel.
And this very lovely tap water for you, Jenny.
He pours out 4 glasses.
Did you find out about my family, Gordon?
Says Kate.
Weren't you going to ask your research branch chap?
Yes, I got something back yesterday, but I haven't read it. As we were, saving the world.
They smile at each other as Hans pulls out his phone and interrogates his messages in the Oberon app. He finds the message and reads. Then says,
I'm not sure you'll like this.
I'm a big girl, Gordon,
says Kate. He pauses. Don't keep us in suspense, Gordon.
So you have a sister,
he says. The women exchange pleasant glances.
Yes?
Hans looks at Gabby.
And her name is?
Yes?
Her name is Eleanor Royce.
Gabby gasps, and Kate frowns at her.
Why is that so surprising?
Eleanor Royce was not the name she was born with,
says Hans.
She changed it. Eleanor Royce, your sister, was born Clémence Froissart. That's Rose's sister.
I don't understand. My sister is Rose's sister.
You're one of the 3 heiresses to the Froissart millions, Kate, says Hans. Your dad, who you've never met, is Alain Froissart. He's the son who was disinherited by his father. The money is held in trust until any of the surviving relatives reach their 40th birthday. The money gets shared. A week ago, Rose thought she'd get it all. Then she discovered that she has one sister, Clémence, and now she's got 2. She won't be pleased.
Given that this discovery involves you, Kate, a member of the security services, that automatically makes this information classified as top secret, says Gabby. The 4 of us cannot pass this information on. Rose can't find out that you're related. It feels very odd, says Kate, having a family suddenly. Maybe I'll get to know them before we all kill each other. I'll drink to that, says Gabby. And their laughter drifts out across the terrace and the gardens of the Chateau Froissart. Stay tuned for a preview of Season 6, Counter-Strike.
Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
They head out east, then turn backwards towards the first helicopter. Gabby leans against her straps and pushes the muzzle of the SA-80 out of her side window. Talgarth flies directly for the other craft, then turns away at the last moment, and Gabby pulls the trigger. The other craft takes evasive action and pulls up and out of range. Talgarth is coming around again when they see the helicopter turn south across the English Channel, and they give chase. With every second, the distance between the two is closing. Talgarth's piloting skills are better than their quarry's, and she reduces the strike distance to the helicopter's tail in front. Out here, 1/2 a mile from the White Cliffs, the night air is colder, and it cuts into Gabby's face as she leans out to take aim. She knows that the SA-80 can fire 400 meters, but she waits until they're well within range before squeezing the trigger. Her bullets make contact with the rear rotor, and she can see sparks in the night. Talgarth pushes the helicopter faster to further reduce the distance. Gabby fires again, and sparks appear for a second time as the rotor gets showered. As they're both wondering if they've done enough, smoke starts to billow out of the helicopter ahead, and it begins to curve in the air on a descent into the water. They watch it plummet, then hit the English Channel below them, before the night is filled with the oranges and reds of its fuel tank exploding. "Back to land, Talgarth," she says. Gabby Lane will return in Counter-Strike on British Spy Stories.